everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Laura and I make bookish videos, and Happy New Year! So this is my first video that I have made this year, and I thought what better way to kick off 2025 than by looking back on my 2024 reading goals and my stats for the books I read last year, and then set some new goals for 2025. I feel like I haven't been very consistent in the last half of the year with creating videos, but that's definitely something I want to work on in 2025. So fingers crossed I can kind of keep being consistent or start being consistent with making videos. Please let me know if there's any video ideas that you can think of that you would like to see me do, any challenges and things like that. I definitely want to do more reading vlogs and things like that because I find them particularly fun to make. But yes, anyway, let's go back and have a look at my 2024 stats. I have my laptop here with all my notes on it, so if I'm looking down, that's why. So the big one, my 2024 reading goal, according to Goodreads, was 45. Now, when I made my 2024 reading goal video, I actually said in it that I was going to set my Goodreads goal to 45, but really I wanted to read about 50 books, around one a week. I don't know why I didn't just set it to 50 in the first place. I think I had a busy year. I was really busy with like work things and things like that, so I kind of thought that I maybe wouldn't get as much time to read in, and didn't want to fail the challenge. So I set it to be 45, but I'm pleased to announce that I read 52 books, so exactly one a week, which I'm really happy with. That kind of seems to be around the average for most years. I read between 50 and 60 books a year. I would like to keep working on that number and improving it, but like I say, this year particularly was busy for work, so I wasn't going to be too hard on myself on how much I read, but I actually was pleasantly surprised. My next goal I did fail, so I wanted to read at least 6 non-fiction books, and I actually only read 3. So slightly disappointing in that one. I do really love non-fiction books when I read them, but I just haven't prioritised them this year. I want to try and read more, as always. I feel like I'm always working on like trying to improve my stats each year, but as we see, this year hasn't really gone to plan. I am trying to think off the top of my head of the non-fiction books that I've got on my TBR that I would like to read. I can think of a few that I definitely want to get to this year, but I'm probably not going to set a statistic goal, like a numerical goal to work towards, because I just feel like with the books I've got on my TBR, not many of them are non-fiction, and I really want to work on cutting down my TBR this year. So we shall see where we're at by the end of next year, or by the end of this year with that goal. But yeah, only read 3 non-fictions in 2024, so slightly disappointing. That's only one every 4 months. My next goal was quite broad, not very numerical focused, so it's hard to try and decide whether or not I completed it, but I think I did. So my goal was to focus on reading books I love and not books I feel like I have to read. So this kind of came about that I had such a big TBR with books on it that had been on there for literally years, some of them decades. And I just wasn't loving them. Like, none of them spoke out to me, none of them I really wanted to read. I just felt like I was picking them up because they had been on my TBR for so long and I had to read them, and they were all kind of working out to be 3 stars and just wasn't enjoying them. So I kind of wanted to focus in 2024 on reading books I actually am interested in reading, and I would say I succeeded that. I definitely picked up books that I wanted to read more. I don't get me wrong, didn't love everyone, but I at least was interested going in, whereas I think in 2023 I kind of started reading books just for the sake of it. I also did a really big on-haul of my TBR, which I posted a few months ago on my channel, and that has been so beneficial. Now when I look at my TBR, it's just books I want to read, and it feels so freeing, and I just felt so much more excited to read since I've done that video, so I'm really glad I did that. So yeah, I would count that as a success. I'm really happy that I kind of got rid of a lot of books on my TBR, and I feel a lot more confident and happy that the books that I have got there are actually books I want to read. So we're going to give that one a tick. 2 out of 3 so far, that's not too bad. The next one I did fail. Gosh, every other one I'm failing here. I wanted to create a booktube, and I wanted to post 1 video a week. So, okay, I created a booktube, tick, but I did not post 1 video a week. I think last year I probably posted maybe 12 videos, if that. I don't think I even posted 1 a month, unfortunately. I just really struggled to prioritise making YouTube videos, and I think also having the confidence in myself to create videos. And I kind of compared myself to a lot of other booktubers who are a lot more established, and for some of them it is their full-time job, and felt like I couldn't match that. I think I just want to be not too hard on myself this year in the videos that I create. I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to every reading vlog has to complete 3 books and things like that, which isn't necessarily very realistic for my life at the moment. You know, I have a full-time job and a lot of other responsibilities, so I can't necessarily dedicate all my time to reading as much as I would love to. But it is something I really enjoy, and I really enjoy sharing that through videos. So yeah, I want to try and prioritise making more videos and being a bit less hard on myself, and yeah, just be a bit more confident. So hopefully you will see a few more videos from me this year, fingers crossed. I'm going to try and create a little like calendar timetable kind of style not video plan thing, calendar where I can plan my videos out a little bit more and dedicate some more time to them, because I think that's definitely something I want to do more of this year. Okay, my final goal for my 2024 video was to read more new releases. The year before I read 7, so I set my goal to be 8, and actually I was surprisingly disappointed in myself. I actually only read 6, which I find really interesting because normally I don't read that many new releases, or I don't prioritise reading new releases. Previous years, like 2023 and before, I read a lot of charity shop books and didn't prioritise the new releases. I didn't really keep a close eye on the new releases that were coming out. I didn't make it my mission to pick them up and read them. So whereas this year, 2024, I actually did. You know, I created a video of books, my most anticipated summer releases, and I read most of them. There are a few that I didn't get to, but I thought more. But actually, when I looked through it, I actually only read 7 new releases. So I actually read less than previous years, despite making it more of a priority. So that's an interesting one, something to think about. And again, something I'd like to work on in 2025 is reading more new releases. But equally, I'm not going to be too hard on myself if I don't. Again, I'm not going to set that as a numerical goal because I do read a lot of charity shop books and backlist books, and I'm not mad about that. Yeah, I will create hopefully another video of all my most anticipated books, but actually I haven't been too hot on researching books that are coming out this year yet, so we'll see what books take my eye, and things like that. But yeah, I did really enjoy reading the new releases that I did read, so yeah, maybe I should prioritise it more. Okay, so those were all of my goals for 2024. I would say I didn't do as good as I hoped, but it wasn't all bad. You know, I hit my reading goal and I wasn't too far off my new release goal, etc. So yeah, something to work on. Sorry, move the camera down a bit. Something to work on, but equally not too hard on myself. Didn't do too badly. In terms of other stats for my reading in 2024, like I said, I'm just reading them off my laptop, but like I say, I read 52 books, and that worked out to be 20,625 pages, according to Goodreads. I will say I haven't necessarily clicked the right edition for every single book, but roughly around 20,600 pages. That works out to be an average of about 56 pages a day, which, considering there are some days where I don't read at all, an average of 56 isn't too bad. I would obviously like to improve that this year. Maybe an average of like 80 pages a day would be quite a nice target to have, but we'll see how we go with that one. My shortest book for the year was actually the last book I read at 73 pages. It was Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. It was a part of a collection of short romance stories. I think it was released by Amazon on Kindle Unlimited. I only read that one and it was fun. But yeah, that was the shortest book I read. And the longest book I read was 927 pages, and that was Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. Again, not a book I loved, so that's a shame that the longest book I read this year was not one of my favourite books. But hey ho, that's fine. It was quite a quick read. I'm surprised it was 900 pages. So that puts my average length book at 397 pages, which I'm not surprised about. That's kind of average, of course, for me. I would have guessed I normally read books between 350 to 400 pages, so yeah, kind of not surprised by that stat, and assume it will be very much the same next year as well. My average rating for this year was actually down from last year. It was 3.5 stars, which is kind of disappointing, although I will say again, I'm not too hot on rating my books. God, I'm like the worst bookstube ever. I don't rate all the books I read. But I don't know, there's some books that I know are out and out 5 stars, and then there's other books that I just found fine, so I would just put it 3 stars, but actually might later down the line think actually that was more a 2 star, but also I might actually think about it a lot more and then bump it up to a 4 star, but I never update it on Goodreads. So yeah, there's a lot of books that are unrated on Goodreads because I don't know my initial thought, and if I don't come up with a rating straight away, I just never end up putting one. Maybe that's something I can work on this year, is working out my rating system and actually rating more books, because that would be quite useful as something to look back on. But yeah, like I say, for now 3.5 stars is not an amazing rating, but I do know that I did enjoy a lot of the books I read this year, and actually I don't think 3.5 is very fair of a rating. We finished with the stats, so just going to break it down by genres as well. I always like looking at this. And my most read genre this year, actually surprisingly, was romance at 18 books. I say surprisingly, but actually I'm not that surprised, because I bought Kindle Unlimited this year at the beginning of the year, and quite a lot of the romances that I read were on Kindle Unlimited. Quite a lot of the books in general that I was interested in from Kindle were romances. So yeah, not too surprised by that one actually, in hindsight. My next most read genre was mystery thriller at 16. Again, pretty average for me. I read a lot of mystery thrillers. Also to note, I have just taken this from what they're initially rated as on Goodreads. Yeah, so, you know, some of these might be historical and mystery thrillers, but I've just gone for the first one that is listed under. I then read 6 literary fiction, contemporary fiction books, 5 historical fictions, 3 non-fictions and 3 horror. I definitely think I will read a few more horrors this year, because I did find it quite fun, and I do think I quite like them kind of weird books. They do definitely appeal to me and interest me a lot more than they used to, so definitely want to hopefully pick up some more of them this year. And then I read one fantasy, which was the what was it called, which was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I definitely want to finish that series this year, so hopefully I'll at least double my fantasy read books this year. And then my final stat for the books I read in 2024 was translated fiction, and of the 52 books I read this year, only 5 of them were translated, so definitely something I want to work on, because I do really enjoy the translated books, or most of the translated books that I have read, and I think I read a few more in 2023, so again, another downgrade from my reading the year before, which is a shame. I am going to blame a lot of that being on Kindle Unlimited. I felt like I really got sucked into reading a lot of romances this year, which isn't a bad thing. I did enjoy it, and I needed to read them at the time. I wanted the light-hearted, easy to read, fluffy romances, but I am hoping to read a few more maybe like literary fiction books this year, a few more horrors, and with that some more translated fiction as well. So hopefully we can just go on the up in 2025, because I feel like a lot of these have gone down in 2024, so I need to pick up on my reading stats. That all being said, it's time to set some goals for my reading in 2025. I have set my Goodreads reading challenge to be 52 books this year, so the same amount that I read last year. I think 1 book a week is quite realistic for me. Obviously I would like it to be more, but life gets in the way sometimes. I am moving this year, at the beginning of this year, and things like that, so I know that will impact my ability to read as much in the interim. Obviously I would like it to be more than 52, and I am going to aim to read more than 1 a week, but I think 52 is a nice number. I feel happy reading 1 book a week. What else have I written down? My next goal is incorporate audiobooks into my reading more. Again, this isn't necessarily a numerical goal, but it's just something I want to work on, and I think that will also help the amount of books I read in a year too. So I actually cancelled my Kindle Unlimited subscription this month, and I have instead signed up for Everand, used to be called Scribd, for audiobooks and ebooks, but mostly their audiobook titles is why I signed up for it. Never necessarily been a massive audiobook reader. I've kind of always had a bit of a hit and miss relationship with them. I love the idea of it, however, I often find that I don't keep focused on them. I'm not, I zone out a lot if I'm just solely listening to the audiobook whilst doing something else. However, I have discovered the magic of listening to an audiobook whilst reading it physically. I feel like it keeps me so much more engrossed in the book and the story, and then I find that when I then transition to only listening to it, if I have to, I don't know, walk to the station or something, I can listen to it and focus on it without zoning out, because I think already the characters are already ingrained in my brain, I'm already engrossed in the story. So yeah, I've only done it for a few weeks so far, but I do find that I really enjoy that aspect of reading now, and yeah, I'm hoping to keep the subscription going, and hopefully listen to some more audiobooks, because yeah, it is really fun, and particularly audiobooks that have got like a cast of narrators or are read by the author, like things like that I find are amazing. Like they're pieces of art in themselves. So yeah, definitely want to try and listen to some more audiobooks this year. My final goal for the year, like I say, I haven't set many because I don't want to fail them all this year, but yeah, my final goal is more of a challenge that I've signed up for. It is the Read Around the World challenge. So I signed up to Patreon with Meg with Books' Patreon. And with that is like a big Discord channel, and it's really lovely, and it's a really nice community that I'm really glad I finally kind of got on board with and signed up for. And as part of the Discord, there is like a section for the Read Across the World challenge. It's got me thinking about the kind of books that I read, and looking back on my year, I don't feel like I've read many very diversely this year. I have kind of read a lot of books from the UK and the US, and I definitely want to try and branch out my reading and diversify it a little bit. So yeah, I've signed up for this race, we can call it Race Around the World, I love that programme. I've signed up to this Read Across the World challenge. My personal goal is to read 12 books from varying countries across the world, and ideally one from each continent. To tick off every continent this year, and I want to read at least 12 books from various countries. I've already got my eye on some books from Turkey, Japanese literature I always love, and I always read a Japanese translated book, so I'm not worried about ticking that off. Definitely some more South American books, some more from the continent of Africa. I think there's just so much diversity and so much culture and just so much to be learned from these books, and I always love reading about, hearing about, learning about different cultures, different places, and so I am really looking forward to this challenge. And yeah, like I say, I want to read at least 12, but fingers crossed I should read more, and yeah, let's tick off some countries. But yeah, that is all of my stats for 2024, the goals I've set for 2025. Like I say, I haven't set many goals. My priority is going to be the Reading Across the World challenge and reading 52 books this year. That they are my kind of priorities, and we shall see what genres and what fun times lay ahead for us this year. Let me know how your 2025 goals are going. What are your 2025 goals? I have actually only read one book this year, but it is the 7th when I'm making this, so it's exactly a week into the year. So I've completed one book, which is technically on track, but I do need to finish another book soon. Hopefully I will see you with another video soon. Bye!